I was born in a log cabin in Newark, New Jersey, and that log cabin was called Beth Israel Hospital. My father was in Korea, and my mother was a former, not actively practicing lesbian American. What does Beth mean in Hebrew? According to Google, it says that Beth means house. So I was born into the house of Israel in Newark. My father came home from the war, the Korean War, when I was put back into the hospital after a few months due to breathing problems and me having only one lung. My brother was born and he dethroned me. Life was great until puberty, and everything was ruined by the need to talk to other people. My mother thought my life would be enhanced if she put me in an all-white school in Short Hills, New Jersey. My father loaned me his Black History books while he told me about how many women fell in love with him so often because he had multiple college degrees and was a super nigger. My quote unquote, my father got out of the army after he got back from Vietnam, because he was in Korea and Vietnam, and he moved into the YMCA in downtown Newark after his divorce. My mother moved to Lambertville to live with an illegal alien who was Irish, an illegal alien from County Sligo, Ireland. Round face, blonde hair, chubby and loud with a thick Irish accent. My mother had told me her companion Annie used to be a nun back in Ireland. She was a musician. She sang at Billy's Irish Pub of Trenton, Tirnanog of Trenton, and the Boathouse of Lambertville. She did traditional Irish music, singing and playing instruments. The Star Ledger said in her obituary she died at age 42 of cirrhosis of the liver. And she and my mother had lived in Lambertville on the corner of South Main Street and Bridge Street in a house converted into apartments with squeaky stairs. She gave my mother a diamond ring. What I remember of visiting them in Lambertville was the restaurants, the numerous gas stations on the corner, and the constant ding, 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 ding of the cars driving over the rubber hose, and the constant thought of how close we were to the luxurious state of Pennsylvania. Every time I went, I would have a Monte Cristo sandwich, and I made secret plans to find a bookstore. I told my mother that Dad was getting remarried and that I was going to go to graduate school in Washington, D.C. I also told her that I was growing my hair out. I was letting it get long, I told her, because my current boyfriend liked it that way. And my mother said, "What kind of feminism is that?" I couldn't believe she said that. Who asked for her opinion in that manner? Did I complain when she wore men's cologne? No, I didn't. She had short hair. Did I ever complain? Besides, she and my brother had inherited the straight hair from the straight hair side of the family. Who cares about her opinion about my hair? I got my hair from the black side of the family. I ended the hair conversation. My mother graduated from seminary and she left New Jersey to become a preacher in Dallas, Texas. She left Annie behind in Lambertville. One time I asked Annie a question, although I usually didn't, conversate with her that much. I said, my mother said that when you were younger, back in Ireland, you used to be a nun. Now, something happened that never happened before when I was around Annie, and she got totally and completely silent. So then I knew then it definitely must be true. She had been a nun back in Ireland. Her silence told me that's what happened. It was true. Let me tell you, I went a long way from that log cabin that I was born to in Newark, from the Jewish people at Beth Israel to the Irish of Lambertville. It's been a long, very interesting, very educational, very stimulating trip. Black women were considered to be livestock in the 1800s. Black women did hard physical labor. Black women could not choose their mate unless they got the permission from the master. Black women were called ugly, but gave birth to a lot of light-skinned and white-skinned kids. After slavery, black women were denied school and most jobs. Black women did domestic work, or they could establish a boarding house. White women were said to be weak-minded. Her traditional role was to be her husband's servant. White women did not have the legal authority over her own children. All property was held in the name of the man. What happened to the children was decided by the man. All big decisions were decided by the man. If you didn't have a husband, you became a spinster and lived with your father or your brother and his family. Proper ladies were not supposed to be interested in science. They could pursue an interest in botany as a hobby. White women could not be lawyers. The states would forbid women from applying to be a lawyer. It wasn't until 1920 that all states allowed women to take the bar exam. Ministers commonly said that the pain of childbirth was God's curse against Eve for what she did in the Garden of Eden. No pain of men was ever attributed to Adam and his actions in the Garden of Eden. If a teenage girl in the 1800s discovered how to get certain feelings, it was considered a medical problem. She would have to get an operation to be sure she would not be able to touch that area of her body again. But a boy did not need an operation for touching any part of his body. The Chinese had come to build the railroad in America, Chinese men, but they were not allowed to marry white women. So the company shipped the Chinese women in a small amount to work as prostitutes for those employees. Native indigenous women did farming in their community, but missionaries made them stop farming, convert to Christianity, dress and act like white people, and speak English. Latinas saw their land taken. Whites called Latinas lazy and amoral. Their status was lowered so that they would be considered below white women, and many Latinas had to become housekeepers or prostitutes. All kinds of women began to be political in the 1800s and called for reform on issues like war, alcohol use, and slavery. Poor women worked in factories, but men did not want them to be in the unions. The first white lady doctor graduated from medical school in 1849, even though her peers, the males in her medical college, thought it was a joke. The first black lady doctor graduated from medical school in 1864. She was the only African American in her graduating class.